Certain algorithms actually which do not repeat themselves at all. Okay,
Okay.
talking about whether or not is there a pattern. So you could say, what do we mean by pattern? Generally speaking, when we talk about strict definition, if you go into that area, then generally pattern means it needs to have some kind of repeating structure associated with it. Then
Right.
you would be able to identify some kind of pattern. And this is how I would say our cognitive visual algorithm inside the brain works. If it
Mm-hmm.
repeats, we can identify a pattern only if it
True.
repeats. However, I'm going to give you an example where things do not repeat at all, and there's a lot of pattern out there. If you look into the visual aspect of written language, it generally, the shapes within, let's say, one particular word, they generally do not repeat quite a lot. However, when you broaden your scope and you take into account all 26 alphabets of English or all 52 alphabets of Hindi, then you are actually identify the patterns. So the idea is how much you are willing to zoom out or zoom in. Now,
Mm-hmm.
keeping this context in mind, when you come back to it, are there any algorithms which are not going to generate any kind of patterns? Yes, there are, depending on your range. On an
Okay.
absolute scale, there is no such algorithm.
Okay.
Now, there are algorithms where you could have a system where nothing ever repeats. There are algorithms. I'm forgetting the name of this thing. This YouTube channel, Veritasium, made a really great video about it. It's this comes into triangle generation and coloring those triangles in certain manner out there. You will never be having anything repeated ever. Math guarantees this thing. But
Okay.
but there is a big but. What is the pattern behind that? The pattern behind that algorithm outputting these triangles is that the orientation of triangles will continue to change,
Okay.
will continue to repeat actually. So we are,
Okay.
yeah, we are kind of close out there. However, for all practical purposes, every single algorithm, they do start repeating at certain point of time.
Okay. So, Justin, a different question.
Mhm.
We all know about pi, right? Pi is something which is told that it won't repeat. It's an irrational number, right?
Right.
You can just keep on writing it, and we won't be able to find a place wherein those fractional digits again repeat itself.
Absolutely.
So, do you think, because we had a discussion about the context part, do you think
Mhm.
there is an very remote possibility, or maybe impossible possibility, but a remote possibility wherein it actually repeats itself? Just in, even though there's no right answer to it, at least not something which is provable. But what is your opinion on that?
I believe it will never repeat. Trust me when I say that, and I have very good reason to believe that.
Okay, if you can, brief explain the
Sure.
reason, you
The reason
understand.
pi will never repeat itself, in my humble opinion, is because if you look into, if you peer the veil a little bit back, what exactly is pi? Well, pi is the ratio between the diameter and circumference of a
True.
circle out there,
Mhm.
more or less like your takes. This is what pi is. Everything else, your most sophisticated algorithm to calculate pi, 22 by 7, all of these things, they are our approximations.
Right, that's true.
So
Okay.
from this regard, you could look at pi and you could certainly make an argument that pi happens to be one of the fundamental constants of the universe, pretty much like the speed of light or the constant of gravitation or the constant of magnetism out there. And this is something which altogether, when they stick together, these things, they more or less describe our reality. Now,
True.
why I believe for a good reason that pi will never repeat itself is because is because our measurement system, when we say that this is an irrational number, we defined or designed a particular system of measuring stuff with numbers out there. And then we tried to model the, I would say, laws of reality based on our understanding of that thing. It's a very human centric approach of looking into things. There's nothing
True.
wrong with it because at the end of the day, trees are not going to understand nature. Humans are trying to do that. So things have to be human centric. And
Right.
I have this belief that our model at its very fundamental basis is not perfect.
Okay.
In fact, there's this Polish mathematician, Gödel. He actually proved it that the number system which we use, the most elementary thing, the counting thing, like 1, 2, 3, 4, blah blah blah, this is imperfect.
Mm-hmm.
It does not represent, and it cannot possibly represent all possible states
Mm-hmm.
of any
Okay.
given system at any point of time. I would encourage you to read something called Goodell's incompleteness theorem. It's mind-blowing stuff. It systematically goes down and it proves at a very fundamental level, yeah, all of your math is wrong.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
Excited to read
my,
about it. Really go through.
yeah,
Please go ahead. Yeah.
the idea is that our systems of making sense of these, I would say, laws of nature, they are imperfect. And it is my opinion, because I am not an atheist person. I used to be in my rebellious years. Over the period of time, I got wiser and I came to realize, yeah, there has to be a creator. There is God. And again, like you could say this thing pretty much like a foolhardiness, because in modern times, particularly in kind of quote unquote educated circles, if you say that you are a believer in God, not a very good thing to say out there in certain circles out there, where I tend to hang out anyway. But here, I mean, I'm very comfortable with this fact. So I believe God does not deal in imperfections. Whatever
Mm-hmm.
systems have been put in place, at least the laws of physics. Let's not make it social argument. That
Mm-hmm.
sucks, because humans are involved way too much in sociology. So whatever God's systems are there, actually, for, I would say, the known reality or even the unknown reality, I tend to believe that they are perfect. And when we see this quote unquote irrationality in our numbers, it is
Mm-hmm.
the artifact of the fact that we are not using, I would say, a proper system. Now, it doesn't mean that we are not trying. We as humans, we are trying, but this is the
Def-
best we could come up with.
right.